Good day and good morning to one and all. Next, after studying the cervical and the thoracic vertebra, we will study about the lumbar vertebra. Now, the lumbar vertebrae are about 7 to 6 in number, 7 or 6. They are the largest vertebrae and they have two lumbar vertebrae have bony processes attached to the ventral surface of the centrum. They are called as hypophysis, and the lumbar vertebrae is a typical vertebra. This is the structure of the lumbar vertebra, which we had studied as a typical vertebrae. It has a neural spine. Then the pre-zygapophysis, post-zygapophysis, neural canal, neural arch, the centrum, transverse processes. In addition to that, there is a hypophysis and there is an anapophysis. That is the hypophysis. Next, this is the lumbar vertebrae, the dorsal view, the posterior view, the lateral view. What is the advantages or what is the adaptation of lumbar vertebra? Its broad neural spine helps in the attachment of powerful back and abdominal muscles. The long, well-developed transverse process helps in the attachment of muscles that maintain the posture and flexes the spine. The metapophysis projection provide additional surface for muscle attachment. Hypophysis projections provide additional surface for muscle attachment. Thick and compact centrum is for their support, and pre and post hypophysis help in articulation with the adjacent vertebrae. The sacral vertebra, that is the next one, it's around 4. All the 4 sacral vertebrae fuse together to form a bony plate called sacrum. It is seen in between the ilia of the pelvic girdle. The first sacral vertebrae bears a articular facet for joining with the iliosacral joint. All sacral vertebrae have long neural spines and small tubercle-like zygapophysis on the upper side. The caudal vertebrae. Next is the caudal vertebrae. Before that, let us look at what are the adaptations of sacral vertebrae. It has numerous canals for the passage of blood vessels and nerves. Sacral vertebrae are fused to provide strength and firmness. The first sacral vertebrae is very well developed, has very well developed transverse processes which are fused to the pelvic girdle to provide support and mechanical protection to the lower abdominal organs. The first sacral vertebrae has large neural spine and transverse process that provide attachment to lower back and the thigh muscles. When we look at the skeletal structure, we will be amazed to find such intricate developments seen in each part of the skeletal system that is so well developed to support the visceral organs, as well as to provide attachment for the muscles and also to provide a great protection for and support for the entire organism. So this is how the skeletal system has been designed. Before that, let us look at the ribs and sternum. We had already I think before that there is the caudal vertebrae, which I have to mention. It is around 15 to 16 in number. They are mostly bony pieces without any prominent neurospines and transverse process. That is why we have not shown them as a figure. That is why we are directly moving to the ribs and sternum. And the caudal vertebrae does not have any arches or spines and zygapophysis. It's progressively decrease in size. Now, let us look at the ribs. Ribs and sternum provide a protection for the thoracic region. There are about 12 pairs of ribs, which is articulated with the thoracic vertebrae. Each rib has a shaft and a head. This is the shaft. This is the shaft. This is the head. This is the head and shaft. Okay. The shaft is consisting of the vertebral part, and this is the cartilaginous part which fuses with the sternum. The first 8 pairs are double headed, that is, there is a tuberculum and a capitulum, while the remaining one of them, they will have just one head, that is, they do not have the tuberculum, or they will only have the capitulum. So what is tuberculum and capitulum? The head region. Head region രണ്ട് ഭാഗങ്ങളുണ്ട്. There is a tubercle and a capitulum. Okay. So this അങ്ങനെ ഡബിൾ ഹെഡ് ആയിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നതിനെയാണ് അത് ഡൈകോണ്ടൈലിക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെ പറയുന്നത് ഡൈസിഫാലസ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ ഹെഡ് രണ്ട് ഹെഡ് ഉള്ളത് ഇങ്ങനെ. ഓക്കെ. ഓക്കെ. ഇങ്ങനെ രണ്ട് ഹെഡ് ഉള്ളത്, ഒന്ന് ട്യൂബർക്കുലം, ഓക്കെ, ആൻഡ് this is capitulum. A single headed ആണെങ്കിൽ the tuberculum will be absent. So it is called monocephalous. The sternal portions of the first 7 pairs. Now let us look at the next. This is the different. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of this 7, this 8 and 9 will be fusing with the 7. The remaining ones are found to be the remaining 3. They are found to be detached and they are called floating limbs. So there are about 7 direct limbs. 1. As this is these are all directly attached to the sternum. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, this is you can't just rely on this. This is just to show a floating rib. This is not the picture of a rabbit. I could not find a good picture of rabbit sternum. This is just to note that how the ribs will be attached to the sternum, and this those which are attached to the sternum. Sternum എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ഭാഗത്തിനെയാണ്, ഈ ഭാഗത്തുള്ള പീസിനെയാണ് sternum എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് വെർട്ടിബ്രൽ കോളം, ഇത് sternum ആണ്. ഇതിലേക്കാണ് റിബ്സിനെ കണക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒരു കേജ് പോലെയാണ് അത് ഫോം ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അത് കാണിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ഈ ഫിഗർ യൂസ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിലെ എല്ലാ റിബ്സും സ്റ്റേണത്തിലേക്ക് അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടാവില്ല. അറ്റാച്ച് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഡയറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഇത് 7 എണ്ണം മാത്രമാണ്. 7 ഡയറക്റ്റ് റിബ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. 8th, 9th, 7th ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തേക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ അതിനെ ഇൻഡയറക്റ്റ് ലിംബ് എന്ന് പറയും. ബാക്കി ചില ഒരു 3 എണ്ണം ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് detached, does not join with the sternum. അതിനെ ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് റിബ് എന്ന് പറയും. അത് കാണിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ഈ ഫിഗർ ഇൻക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്തത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരു 7 to 8 റിബ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് they are double headed. Okay, the remaining that is 4 pairs are monocephalous. The sternal portions of the first pairs of ribs articulate with the sternum, so they are called direct ribs or true ribs. Okay, the first 7 are true ribs. Then 8th and 9th, they do not directly join with the sternum, but they remain fused with the 7th sternal rib. So So the remaining, this is first 7 which directly fuse with the sternum are called direct ribs or true ribs. The remaining are called false ribs. 8th and 9th will join with the 7th. So they are called indirect rib. The remaining 3 are called, they do not attach to the sternum. Hence they are called floating ribs. What is sternum? Sternum is the breastbone. It is long, narrow, segmented. Its segments are called as sternum. This is the sternum. Okay. This sternum is in turn made up of many segments. It has mainly 3 parts. That is the anterior presternum. They made of definite segments called sternebrae, and they have different parts. That is the first part is called manubrium or presternum. This is the manubrium or presternum. The middle region is mesosternum. Middle region is mesosternum, and the posterior or the metasternum. Metasternum, or it is called as sciphisternum. Okay, sciphisternum. So that is how. So this is the sternum. It is made up of different segments, and the first part it is called manubrium. This is the mesosternum. This is the metasternum. Metasternum is also known as sciphisternum, which is made up of sciphisternal cartilage. So that is how the ribs and sternum are connected. So this is our vertebral column. We had studied about the vertebral column, right? That is shown here. This is the vertebral column. Okay. You have the vertebral column with cervical 7, then thoracic 12 to 13, lumbar 7 to 6, 7 or 6, then you have the sacral 4 and caudal 15 or 16. That is how the number of the vertebrae is distributed. From the sternum arises, that is from the thoracic sternum arises the ribs. Ribs are of different, they have different parts. This is a vertebral part, this is the cartilaginous part which fuse with the sternum. And there are 12 pairs of ribs, 12 pairs of ribs, and of which the 1 are directly connected to sternum are called true ribs. 8th and 9th are indirectly connected, so they are indirect ribs, and remaining 3 are called as floating ribs. So that is how. Now the arrangement of the ribs are arranged with the vertebral column and sternum. When we look at the sternum, it is divided into manubrium, mesosternum and sciphisternum, and this is also known as the breastbone. So this is how the ribs and the sternum look like. Now there is an important part, that is the dentition of mammals, that also which I would like to mention here. That is the dentition is very important, because it normally comes in the digestive system, but as it is a part of the skeletal system, I have to mention here is that the dentition is of rabbit is thecodont, thecodont, then heterodont, heterodont, and lophodont. and diffeodont.